everybody? It's the Outlaw John Rocha here with my spoiler review for Black Adam, this brand new DC Universe film that is out in theaters now from director Jean Collet-Serra, who just recently did The Jungle Cruise, with the man who is starring in this film, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, as the titular Black Adam. Also along for the ride is Aldis Hodge's Hawkman, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, Quintessa Swindell as Cyclone, Noah Centineo as Adam Smasher, Sarah Shahi as Adriana Tomaz, and Bodhi Sabongwi as Amon Tomaz, the young kid who befriends Black Adam throughout the entire movie. So some of you have seen my Instagram post and my tweet about the movie, certainly, or maybe you see my out-of-theater reaction. This one did not do it for me. I was really hoping it would. I defended it on the Geek Buddies whenever we talked about it, breaking down the trailers when they were dropped, or defended it on Twitter, or even on some shows that I've been on, hoping that this one would be fantastic. You know, when you go into a movie like this, you want to enjoy it. You want to see the best of what The Rock can do, and you want to see the best of what the movie can do. And as I said, I like Jean Collet-Serra. I like what he did with Jungle Cruise. I really enjoyed that movie. The Rock and Emily Blunt having some really nice chemistry, with Jesse Plemons playing an over-the-top villain that worked within the construct and the framework of that movie. So I was hoping we were going to get something like that in this movie. Certainly there's humor attempted in this movie, and there's action sequences galore in this movie, and there's a supposedly powerful story, or an attempt to deliver a powerful story about the country that the Black Adam is from, coming out to protect it 5,000 years later, and the story of Black Adam connected to his son. So there's a lot that they were trying to do with this movie that I don't think they 100% accomplished. I think The Rock does a really nice job. I mean, he's like Tom Cruise now. You know what to expect from The Rock when you go into a Rock action movie. There's going to be the strong stare. There's going to be the lower voice delivery of lines. There's going to be some emotional journey that he wants his character to go through to prove that this guy can act. It's all there, and he certainly plays the beats. I don't think I found myself at any point not believing what The Rock was doing. I believe that The Rock believed what he was doing. Dwayne Johnson believed what he was doing, and I bought into what he was doing. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie, storyline-wise and how they put everything together, just doesn't work for me. So I'm going to keep with the positive stuff. We'll get to the negative stuff in just a second here. The action sequences are incredible. I thought the action sequence was really fun to watch. Seeing how he moves, it was very reminiscent of what we've already seen from Namor in those Wakanda Forever trailers, having him move so quickly. He really, the speed with which he's moving, and then the ferocity and the calmness in the storm is something you would anticipate and expect from someone with this kind of power. And certainly the way he administers his brand of justice here when in these action sequences is brutal. It's a PG-13 film, but the feeling of it all, the violence of it all, comes real close to being R, and enough of it is there for you, if you like to see that kind of violence, to enjoy for sure. He is certainly very, very powerful. And then we get into the action sequences with Hawkman, with Dr. Fate, with Cyclone, with Adam Smasher. All that stuff works well. If you're just going to see a movie to have fun seeing The Rock and some action sequences, then you're going to enjoy this movie. I also enjoyed the score. I saw some people bashing the score, and I really didn't understand that, because I liked the score. I thought what Lauren Balfe did with the score was good. I bought into the music cues. I like the stronger notes or the louder notes in certain sequences to convey a certain kind of importance to the moments or importance to the scenes. I dug all that. So those are the things that I liked about the movie. And I think those are the things that work about the movie. Now, the things that don't work, and let's get into it, it's the story. Like, I know that there's a very strong story being told here about the corporate colonization of a country. And certainly that's happening in other countries around the world. Some might argue it's happening in this country here in the States in larger and smaller ways every day. We're giving in more of our privacy, more of our ability to work, all of it, giving it over to corporations who control us, tell us what to do. We risk our jobs if we're to speak out. You know, we're seeing that stuff at Starbucks, the unionization of Starbucks, seeing people battle about that as well, you know, protest in the streets or outside these establishments. So we're seeing that happening across the world, certainly the corporate colonization. So it's a very serious issue. And the way it's brought up in this movie, it is given a window dressing treatment, a surface level treatment. And I think for 2022, when people are much more politically aware of what's going on in the world, I think it requires a much more deeper exploration. If you're going to present it I would like to see a much more deeper exploration of it all. I think that would have given the film more heft, more weight, more of a grounding for sure to explore that a little bit more. Instead, they default to the cheesy route with cheesy moments of people cheering or reacting or saying cheesy things to motivate themselves to fight, and it is also completely unearned and just out of nowhere and really has no organic progression in the movie, and it becomes frustrating to see that with the story. And I understand that, and certainly the directors of Ms. Marvel came out ahead of time, I believe, and said some comments about how Wonder Woman 1984 dealt with the Middle East crisis in the 1980s and how they just kind of brushed past it and dealt with it so simply in that movie. I think the same thing happens here. This is a question I have. And look, I've gone after Marvel about this as well, with how Falcon and Winter Soldier really didn't dive into the systemic racism. They mentioned it. They talked about it. They had that one episode and that one scene with Isaiah Bradley, but then they kind of moved past it. And certainly here in this story, there's much more to explore. The villain becomes almost faceless until we have that twist at the end, which I think everybody saw coming, about who the actual villain is in human form versus in corporate form. We see that come about, but it never really becomes a potent part of the movie. It's more about Black Adam fighting the Justice Society of America rather than fighting these villains. So it becomes really convoluted in the telling of the story. It's not that you can't get what's happening. Of course you can get what's happening, but how it's constructed doesn't seem to make sense, doesn't seem to fit at what it's going to for and what it's leading to in terms of the end. So the means themselves, I think, could have used a lot more work. So when we get to the ends, they're much more satisfying. You buy into why it's happening. You understand the levels of all this stuff and why it's happening the way it is. And speaking of the Justice Society, this is where I think it really kind of dropped the ball. They just present you with the Justice Society of America. They give you no depth, no background. Somehow it's attached to Amanda Waller. And then if you look at Dr. Fate, there is so much to explore with Dr. Fate. So introducing him in this way, casting Pierce Brosnan, and then having him do the role without any real exploration of his background, exploration of how he has these powers, why he's tortured by these powers. It's just a bunch of alluding to things with nothing explained. And I think it's really frustrating. And no, you can't get away with just introducing a character and go, well, we're going to touch on it later on. And that's later on in another series or later on in another movie. That's not how this goes. You cannot introduce a ready-made character without any kind of background to it, especially someone like Dr. Fate. One of my favorite characters, certainly from the DC Comics. I wanted to see more. Hawkman as well, especially if you're going to cast Aldis Hodge. Give him more to do. Certainly leading the team was great. But Aldis at times, man, the acting in this, and I love Aldis. I've interviewed him a couple times. I think he's a great dude. I wanted him for Jon Stewart as Green Lantern. But here as Hawkman, it's a weird situation. I like that he's just as badass and tough as Black Adam, but there's no explanation of his background. There's no real explanation of why he leads this team, why they're connected, and Amanda Waller. We don't have any idea about Cyclone or Atom Smasher. Yeah, they have a scene where they talk about their past or how they got their powers, but that's really the simplest way that you can present it. And that doesn't help us care for these characters. And I think there could have been a lot more work done in the script to give us fuller, fleshed out characters that we could have really attached to and been invested in. So when things are happening, when the action sequences are happening, the humor will work better, the dramatic moments will work better, and the near-death moments will actually affect us as we're watching it. So for me, that's where it really drops the ball massively in presenting the Justice Society of America and dealing with the overall storyline of this corporate colonization of this country. And then we move into the story of Black Adam and the overall struggle that he's having with because of the guilt he feels over the fact that his son was the actual hero. And look, they do a nice job of kind of dropping the mystery throughout, like having him stare at the statue, having him kind of stop short of talking about it, saying he's no hero. When you initially hear him say he's no hero, you might think, oh, does that mean he's a villain? No, he's saying he's no hero because his son gave up his powers to him in order to save his life, and he couldn't save his wife or his son. So there's that feeling of like, well, all I can do is get revenge. I can't save them and bring them back to life. So there's that guilt that certainly hangs over Dwayne Johnson's portrayal here of Black Adam. And, you know, there are moments where that comes through. where it works, but most of the time it's kind of a weird story. They don't show the Rock fully as the character he is 5,000 years ago. It's only later that you see that it is the Rock the whole time. Of course, you can hear his voice, and so you can kind of guess. And I just felt like that was a bit clumsy. It wasn't presented as powerfully as it could have been in order to feel that connection, in order to feel that guilt. Yeah, there are moments where the Rock is really acting the hell out of those moments of feeling that guilt, but we're going along with the Rock. We're not going along with the story that would add more weight to those moments when he's having them. So I just felt that's where they really dropped the ball as well. So overall, the story is where it really dies for me. The action sequences are great. The score is great. The costumes are fantastic. Holy crap, are the costumes fantastic. And the acting, for the most part, I think Quintessa Swindell is a nice discovery. I haven't seen her in anything, so it's nice to discover. I think Noah Centineo, we should have had more with both of them, having more connection, having seen what it's like. We could have seen what it was like through their eyes to be called up to join the Justice Society of America. And see, that's where the mistake is, too. The Justice Society of America is a massive thing to install in a movie. It should have its own movie, and then you could have it with Black Adam. The way they presented it in Black Adam is a thing that's already accepted and been around for a while. It should have had its own movie. Or you could have gone through a separate storyline, make the film a bit of a two-hander. You could have called it Black Adam and the Justice Society of America. I don't think anybody would have had an issue with that title. And you have us experience Atom Smasher and Cyclone through their eyes, what it's like, how they revere the Justice Society of America, why they want to join, what it's like for them to join the Justice Society of America and go on this mission against Black Adam. So we could have seen it through their eyes, followed them through the whole process as Black Adam is doing the things that he's doing, so that when they meet up, it's been a build to boom, that explosion. Instead, almost immediately, we have the Justice Society of America grabbing two heroes and going, this is the crew, let's go. Kind of like a Mission Impossible episode, but without a pilot to explain to you what the hell's going on. So it just was a very frustrating to see that when these are such fantastic characters and the Justice Society of America has such an incredible legacy in DC Comics, to see it being portrayed in this way was just incredibly frustrating. Another thing that bothered me about the movie was the cute kid cliche. I mean, that just became so annoying after a while, because the anachronistic approach to this thing also kind of gets in the way for anybody who's got a brain. Like, it makes no sense that he can speak English to be understood 5,000 years later. His powers don't also include the ability to speak in any language to anybody about anything. And then to have him, to have the kid like guide him on what catchphrases to use, what catchphrases not to use. It just was weird. All of it just was like, I'm the cute kid. I'm the plucky kid trying to connect with my father figure. And it just, it just got to be annoying after a while. Some of you may like it. It annoyed the shit out of me for sure. I'll tell you that right now. Another part of this that I didn't like is they didn't make the decision concretely one way or the other. They sat on the fence. Either he's a villain or he's not a villain. And if he's an anti-hero, we need to develop that a bit more. But they really went the safe route with him, which was super frustrating to witness. He is a villain. Let him be a villain. The journey is let him be a villain at the beginning. Let him be a villain in anger and rage and all that thing. And as the film goes along, maybe by the end, he learns that that's not the way to go. But in this way, they made, he only attacked the people who were the corporate villains. So that made him a hero right off the bat. He saved Adriana, Sarah Shahi, who does a nice job in the movie for what she's given, and saves the kid from these corporate stooges or corporate military guys. But he doesn't, and then he fights the Justice Society of America, and even that is presented in a way where they're attacking him, right? They're coming after him, so he's in a way he's defending himself. So at no point is he really actually a full villain, and this is where it becomes frustrating for me, because Joker dialed in and was a villain throughout that entire movie. That movie made $1 billion. Now, this movie is probably going to make some money. The projections are around 60 to 62 million for an opening, which is the highest opening for a Rock-led movie ever, a Dwayne Johnson-led movie ever, and that's great. Fantastic. More power to you. But in the end, there's not that approach to it that could have been groundbreaking and interesting and different, and we could have naturally, he could have become an anti-hero by being the villain, right? You could have gone through that journey, just like he did in the WWE. He initially started out as that face, then went back changed who he was, came back as The Rock, joined the Nation of Domination, became the massive heel that he became, and he became such a big heel that he got over, so fans were chanting for him, so they turned him face. It just made all the sense in the world. They should have done the same thing here. And I think it's frustrating to see them not choosing a side and choosing to just walk the line and play it safe. There's nothing groundbreaking about that. And in the end, yeah, you're going to make your money, but it's not going to be that memorable of a legacy and not that memorable of a film and not that memorable of a character, unfortunately. And I think there could have been a real chance to do something bold with this character that they dropped the ball on. And let's get to, finally, the post-credit sequence. Oh, man. I have been a massive fan of Henry Cavill coming back to play Superman. I have championed this since 2015, or 2013, I think is when the film came out. I've banged drums. I've done everything possible on my shows, on Collider, and other shows to talk about SEN, to talk about how I want Henry Cavill back as Man of Steel. To finally hear that he was coming back as in this post-credit scene, and then I was really excited. I was like, okay, maybe this will save the movie, the post-credit scene. It was great to see Henry back. It was great to hear him say Black Adam, so it wasn't old footage or it wasn't a cut scene. So you know it's him. And seeing him in the outfit was great. But the fact that Amanda Waller is the one who calls Superman to be a part of this, to stop Black Adam. Amanda Waller runs the Suicide Squad. She doesn't run the entire DC contingent of heroes. That is ridiculous. I know Superman works for the government. I get that. We've seen that in Frank Miller's version of The Dark Knight Returns. It's not something that's out of the ordinary, right? But we haven't established that. And when we left Man of Steel and Batman v Justice and the Justice League, he was not in any way, shape, or form connected to the government or working for the government. In fact, he was quite skeptical because his father said to him that, you know, these people might use you. They might not understand you. I don't want you to be found out because of that. So that's instilled in him very deeply. So for him to be working for Amanda Waller or working for the government, which is what that post-credit scene implies, is completely antithetical to what we've seen before with Henry Cavill. I do not want a WrestleMania of Black Adam versus Superman with no development, no kind of why is this happening? Oh, because one person is stronger than the other. It'll just be BVS all over again, which I did not like. So I don't want to see this all over again where they just put these two together in the sequel just to put these two together in the sequel. It makes no sense. And if I was Henry Cavill, I would not want to come back so that The Rock can feel good. Cavill would be coming back to put The Rock over as Black Adam, to use wrestling terms. And that makes no sense to me at all. There's no build up to this. There's no reason the Superman would be mad at him. And there's no reason, as I said earlier, the Superman would work for Amanda Waller. It just doesn't make any sense. The Superman worked for Amanda Waller. So all of that just kind of, I toss out the window. So in the end, my final thoughts are this. As I said in my tweet and my Instagram post, Black Adam is a mess of good intentions combined with mostly poor execution that leads to a movie with mixed results. The fight sequences and special effects are cool to look at. The story tries to say something, and The Rock does his thing, but it fails to give Black Adam any real depth you can feel. It takes a surface level and cheesy approach to the serious issue of corporate colonization, uses the cute kid cliche to annoyance, spends no time developing the JSA or the villain, leading to lifeless appearances for both. And if you're just looking to turn your brain off, enjoy some superhero fights, and forget about it as soon as you walk out, then you'll like this movie. But if you're looking for a superhero movie with depth, fleshed out characters, and a story that moves you, then this one ain't for you. Oh, and the less said about that post-credit scene, the better. The implication of a certain somebody being at the beck and call of a certain somebody almost made me throw my popcorn at the screen. That's the honest truth of how I feel about the movie. I hope you feel that I've explained my reasons, maybe saw some of the reasons why you can still like the movie. Of course, you've got every right to like the movie, but maybe you saw some logic and some reasoning in my points of views and analysis of the film as well. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments section below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Was it your cup of tea? Was it not your cup of tea? Let me know. Do you want to see more from Black? I certainly am cool to see more from The Rock as Black Adam, maybe in a better story, better script, better motivations for the character, more fleshed out, more exploration of the character. I think I would love to see that, and I know The Rock can do it. So yeah, I'd love to see The Rock back as Black Adam. Would you? Do you want to see them recast? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit a like on this video, share it on your social media, put that hashtag the Outlaw Nation so people come and find the channel. Speaking of the channel, come and subscribe to the channel as well down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button. So you see when we're dropping all the content we do here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Head on over to Twitch. Follow me there on Twitch, the Outlaw Nation, all one word, and the Patreon, patreon.com/John Rocha. All right, that's my full-on spoiler review for Black Adam here from the Outlaw Nation. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be well, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new review.